Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch for the fifth and final match of our league with green, white, red Maverick. Deck has been a little bit of all sorts, but this hand is actually quite nice. So we have a little bit of everything. The Sylvan Library is really nice as well. We can green suns for Dryad Arbor straight away if we wish, to then maybe turn 2 have swords and Sylvan up, or even just a knight. Also, Qasali Pridemage is really good, so I'm going to keep this. Qasali is probably the weaker part of of the hand. Qasali is a great target for Green Sun Zenith, but in some matchups it's just a 2-2 bear for the most part, so this should be pretty interesting. Yeah, full study. Okay. Looks like it's going to be a blue-black reanimator deck, which is pretty interesting. So if we do get a turn, it's probably going to be Wooded Foothills Pass. To be fair, this could also be some sort of Hogaak list. And I think either way, I'm probably happy here just to go Wooded Foothills Pass with Swords to Plowshares open. And then if they do nothing, next turn we can just Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. Okay. There's Bloodghast. I think in response to this, I'm pretty happy to go after the Heathen Crab. It just fills their graveyard too much. And the Bloodghast I'm not too concerned about because of our creature base. We'll see if they try to go for a blind Cabal Therapy here as well. I do also like now just maybe untap and play Sylvan Library and pass. Playing one library also gives us some amount of ability to play around Cabal Therapy, which is nice. They probably name Knight or Green Suns. And they name Knight. Okay. So currently the only card in here is really Bloodghast. The other Cabal Therapy is pretty rough because they can just play a land, get back Bloodghast. If they have a fetch land, it's perfect, but Crab's pretty good first. Yeah. I can just 6 here, to be fair. There's not too much we can actually do. Oh, and they have a Revenge Vine in the bin? Wow. They also have Bridge, yeah, Cabal. This is going to be over pretty quickly, unfortunately. I assume they take Green Suns here. Even though Scooz is going to be a little late to the party, we can try to do something. Might as well keep the graveyard up here. This is where Fiery Justice would be pretty nice. Another Hogaak from the hand as their last card. Rough. So all cylinders firing here, and not too much for us. Hopefully not just 2 lands. Pretty much. Definitely can't beat that. But at least we do have some good sideboard cards. I don't mind Fiery Justice. I don't mind Surgical. I don't mind Knight as just an extra card to get with Oh. Sorry. There we go. Knight is just another way to interact with Altar. I think I'd rather have it than Collector Ouphe. And I don't really know how good Thalia is here. I think that's probably the easiest switch out. Yeah, might just go ahead with this and see how this goes. Scavenging Ooze, Klothys, Surgical are ways to deal with the graveyard. Sword Splashes is really nice because of the exile effect. So we could go turn 1 Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. Turn 2 play a bird off. Yeah, okay, so let's go Savannah, Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. Untap. We can Swords a creature if they play creature. We can then tap the Dryad Arbor for the birds. We can then play the Cradle and play the Library. So I like this hand a lot. Hogaak, a pretty cool deck to see back in the format. It definitely didn't see play for a little while over the past couple of months, but it's obviously back with Vengeance, doing very well in this game 1. I think Maverick has the tools to beat it, but you definitely need to set up a pretty quick board state that, you know, blocks some of the creatures and doesn't allow them to attack too aggressively. Knight is probably still one of the best creatures because of being bigger than a Vengevine, but also giving it access to Karakas for Hogaak. Interesting, discarding 2 lands. So here we just get to hold up Green Suns, which is kind of nice. Sorry, hold up our Swords Plowshares. Oh, Knight. Huh. I think that Sylvan Library is just a little bit better. Could also go Knight this turn as well. Knight would be a 3/3. But I think if we do get hit by Cabal Therapy, I'd be much more inclined to lose the Knight than the Sylvan Library. It's tough though. Yeah, I'm happy to keep my same line. I think with the trigger on the stack here, I'm happy to Swords it just in case they hit Cabal Therapy. And they don't. Okay. So I assume these are the 2 names anyway, so they're going to take one of these. Probably the Green Sun Zenith. Okay. Wasteland would be a pretty good pickup here. Another Swords is pretty fantastic. Alright, let's put this on top and let's pay for this. Take them off green mana here. And I'm going to Green Suns for Ooze. And then just pass. Green Suns also gets us her shuffle off the Sylvan Library, so that land isn't on top anymore, which is kind of nice. Crab's going to be fine. Vengevine. Okay. I think in response to this, I'm pretty happy to... Actually, this is a trigger. But I think I'm happy just to eat it now because we do have this backup green mana. I could be doing this too early. Maybe there's a point where I can actually wait for it to trigger the Vengevine, but we'll see what happens. Gravecrawler. Huh. They can Cabal this. I'm just going to deal with the Hedron Crab. I really want to get it off the field, and I don't want to give my opponent the chance to sack an extra creature to turn on this bridge, so this can be fine. We have all the mana in the world as well, so we can actually eat a fair chunk of their graveyard. And also with Sylvan Library, we can kind of play around. I kind of just want all of this. Attack with the Ooze. The cards in the graveyard that I actually care about is probably just the bridge. But I'm okay with that for now. Probably want to Swords this, but I actually don't think there's a reason to. The Cabal about us, that's fine. We can just eat the Gravecrawler in response because part of the cost is actually sacrificing the creature. Put this up here. Interesting spot. 3 cards in hand for my opponent. If they tap out for an altar, I'm probably pretty happy to Swords the Gravecrawler in response. And then we have 4 mana to eat Bridge, Dryad Arbor, Hedron Crab, and maybe just our own Knight, which would make the Scavenging Ooze a 6/6. Could even use 1 green to actually draw a card, which I think I like better. I could aggressively eat their bin to turn off Hogaak. But I think also just making sure that I can win this maybe within 3 swings, then I'm going to be pretty happy. Decay on Skoos, interesting. This is going to exile the bridge. So let's tap this for 4. Let's eat Crab. Eat Dryad Arbor. Probably one more. I might just eat a Cabal Therapy. I might actually get rid of the other one. And just save this Horizon Canopy for later on. So now bridge triggers, which is kind of nice. Another Wasteland's really nice. Huh. Pay for put on top. Float a white. Hit this. Play the Mirran, so like, yeah. It's pretty tough. I don't think I even need to Swords the Gravecrawler here. Just hold up Mirran and then keep the swords for something else. I like taking this back. There's no real changes that I want to make. Being on the draw is a little bit iffy, but I don't mind it. I really want to have probably some sort of mana acceleration. But a surgical is pretty good, especially with Sword Splash as well. So I'm going to keep this. Playing once, interesting. I guess once is pretty good. No turn one play for my opponent is interesting. Crab's going to be okay. I was thinking of surgicaling Misty, but I don't think that's worth it. There's just better cards to hit, unfortunately. It actually hit 2 Underground Seas, which is interesting, because I'm not sure if they have another blue source. Maybe that's the case. Huh. I think I do want to Swords this here, because I'm looking to untap and play Sylvan Library, so... If they want to fetch here, they can fetch, but... It does mean Surgical's a little bit better, because I get to see 2 more cards that go into the grave. Or 3. 3, okay. Well, there's Bridge, which I think is a pretty good surgical target, if you ask me. Wasteland. I'm going to do it at the end of their draw step in case they draw a bridge for turn. Altar, Trophy, Vengevine, Vengevine. So let's just snip their hand, because we don't actually get to keep this. Let's look at their deck. 4 Hogaaks, 4 Stitches, 2 more Vengevines, Decay, Trophy. Okay. Altar is gone. Marsh Flats is gone. Alright. And they still have a trophy. So I kind of want to find a creature that is going to be trophied that isn't the Knight. Well, double Green Suns is actually pretty good. So let's go put on top, play Wasteland, play Knight. I will get a shuffle effect because of the trophy. So I'll lose a second Green Suns, but hopefully that allows me just to untap, play another Green Suns with Knight up. So another question is, do I want to block here? So we know about Vengevine in hand, Verdant Catacombs and Trophy. Because if I draw into one more land off the Sylvan Library, I can Green Suns for Ooze, and then actually eat this Vengevine. So I don't mind this. I guess we can also take them off double black, which is pretty huge. So I'm actually going to take this. I think I can pay for this. Put this back on top. So if I get another Knight, they only have one answer to it. And this can be 6/6s. Like, they can be 5/5s or 6/6s because of Wasteland. Being Wasteland myself, but I think just being 5/5s is better. So we know about Trophy, Vengevine, Verdant Catacombs in hand. Or maybe we know, because 2 draw steps and they have 4 cards. So we know about Trophy and Vengevine. And luckily they can't do both in the same turn, so they can't get rid of both Knights in swing. Looks like they're going for Trophy. Well, then that makes me want to sack probably the Taiga. To go and get a Wasteland. Now this resolves, I can go and get a basic. Bloodgast. Okay. Sack to the altar. They hit Gravecrawler, Assassin's Trophy. No great attacks. Alright. Oof. Well, that's pretty good. Put on top, put on top. Play Mirran. Play Dryad Arbor. Hit Bayou. Hit Bayou. Pretty close to attacking. I could also... I feel like I don't have the luxury of attacking yet. Yeah. So they had Stitches Supplier and Verdant. I think this Green Suns is going to start going for Ooze. And then we can get Cradle in step, which is pretty nice. So I don't mind that. Okay, well they're just going to concede. It was a pretty hard board state. I mean, the Mirran Crusader is keeping off both of these creatures. The Knight, of course, is as well. They're out of bridges, so they can't really go off with Altar. And Abrupt Decay and a Trophy don't deal with the Mirran, so it's really a case of either going really wide or trampling over with Hogaak, which is also turned off by Knight getting Karakas, so pretty tough for my opponent. I think they really needed to get an aggressive start, and fortunately enough we had that Swords Plowshares and then Surgical on bridge, which obviously they were trying to go for with the Altar in play, but just couldn't get there. So looking back at the list, I did feel a bit fair in those matchups, but I think we did get a little bit unfortunate in some of those draws. I did want to have a really good game in that that sort of mirror match, but you can see the power of Plague Engineer there, and you know, all credit to my opponent for obviously reading the meta right and playing those Plague Engineers, because they were a house, which is very cool to see, because you know you can't be too unhappy when Maverick's doing well, at least in my case. But yeah, I think there is room to grow. I think that with the Red Splash, you can really play around with the numbers and what sort of red cards you want to be playing. As I said before, I do really like Pyroblast. I do really like Klothys. Fiery Justice seems fine. I probably want another one just to make sure I can always see it in the matchups where I see it. We don't have the luxury of Brainstorm or Ponder or Preordain to find the cards that we need. So having more than just a 1 or 2 of in the sideboard of a card that we can't find with Green Sun Zenith or another Reliquary is probably where I want to be. I also don't mind Bojuka Bog right now. I think the Bojuka Bog is pretty bad when there's a lot of fast graveyard hates around. But when it's kind of mid-range decks that are making use of the graveyard, I don't mind Bojuka Bog because it just makes Knight that little bit much better. And it's also a little bit harder to interact with. So Bog's probably a card that I will bring in as just a third piece of graveyard hate in the sideboard. And then maybe instead of the Cindervines and the Knight, I do really like Force of Vigor. I think Force of Vigor would have been pretty great today. Against the Painted decks, it's great. Against lands, it's pretty great when they're relying on Mox Diamonds to produce their mana. So there are some tweaks that I would make to this, but we'll see how it goes. A huge thank you to Lauren as well for the donation deck list. If you are wanting me to play a donation deck list, you can definitely send me a message on YouTube, on Twitter at /Dukes on Twitch, at twitch.tv/Dukes on Twitch, or at the Green Sun Zenith MTG at gmail.com. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I wish I could have done better, but that's a little bit of what makes Magic so good, being the variants. But yeah, I think this deck is pretty sweet. I wouldn't say it's going to be top of the tables every time, but I think it gives a lot of decks a good run for their money. So a huge thank you for coming in. If you do like my content, I would love a sub, a like, a comment, what you think of the deck. Love to interact with you guys. So yeah, do me that. Thanks.